Hey everyone, this is Amit, and today we're going to learn all the ES6 features. So ES6 is also known as ES2015. 2015 is the year where specification for JavaScript was released. So after ES6, committee has moved to yearly release cycle. So there is ES 2016, 17, and 18, and these releases have lot less features compared to ES6. So ES6 has introduced a lot of features like classes, arrow functions, const and let, and all these features made our life easier. So now JavaScript is a lot more fun to write and work with. So in this video, we are going to learn classes, arrow functions, const and let, and destructuring. For rest of the features, I'll create a new video. So I'll keep you posted regarding that. So let's get started. First, we'll get started with classes. So ES6 introduced class syntax which made writing object-oriented programs easier. ES6 classes are just syntax sugar on top of prototypes, JavaScript prototype-based inheritance. You can write ES6 class using syntax like class space class name curly bracket start. Then you can write your constructor where you can write all your initialization logic, and then you can write all your methods. So let's write actual code. So I'll go in VS Code and I'll create a new file. So to explain ES6 classes, first I'll write some ES5 code and I'll write some object-oriented example to demonstrate why ES6 code is better. So I'll create a ES5 file. So I'll create a new type named person. So you can, using ES6, you can create a new type using constructor functions. So I'll have function person which accept two parameter, f name, first name, and last name. And we will assign both these variables to instance variables of same name. So if we have to create any method on this type, so we have to do type name dot prototype dot method name. And we can return concatenation of first name and last name. So this is the way we write this in ES5. So let's do the same thing and write same example in ES6. So for that, we'll create a new file. We'll do a side-by-side comparison. So here we can write class person curly parenthesis start, and inside constructor we can write both parameters. And we can do same initialization to this. And if we have to create a method, we can just write method name and parentheses and we can return concatenation of first name and last name. So as you can see, ES6 code is much easier to understand. It's more readable, and people who are coming from Java or C Sharp background, they can better understand this ES6 code because they have worked with classes already. So let's move on to arrow functions. So arrow functions are shorter syntax for function expressions which doesn't start its own this context. It will use its parents this context. So what is the syntax? To write arrow functions, we write arguments inside parentheses, and then we write is equal to and greater than symbol. So this is equal to and greater than symbol make it look like arrow. So that's why it's called arrow functions. And then you can write function body. So we'll write this code again with real example. So I'll first write ES5 code, and then we'll write ES6 code, and we'll see what problem does ES6 resolve, ES6 arrow function resolve. So in ES6, say we have to write interval type which will print duration after every second. So we have a duration variable and we are setting it to 0, and we have a set interval function, and we are giving callback, and in this callback we are incrementing this duration. So after every 1000 milliseconds. So after increment we should do a console log just to check. So I'll run this program using Node. You can run this in browser also. Okay, we have not called this function, so I'll create a new object. Now it should print some value. So we can see it is printing NaN, which is not a number. Why this is happening? Because inside this function it's not able to find this start duration variable. It will start its own this, and this doesn't have a duration variable. To solve this problem there are multiple ways. So there was a hack to bind. We'll do a bind of and we'll provide this. So this will explicitly provide the external this to the internal function. So now we can see our program is working fine, but this trick is quite messy and it's difficult to understand for new people. So with ES6 we'll write same code, but instead of function we'll remove this binding, and we'll change this function to arrow function, and we'll run this program. So we can see our program is working fine, and we didn't have to bind this explicitly. So it is using this from outside scope. It's not creating this inside its own scope. Let's move on to let and const now. ES6 introduced two new ways to declare variables, let and const, in addition to ES5's var. Var has a function scope, while let and const have block scope. So if you have defined inside curly brackets, you can't access those variables outside those curly brackets. So let is used to declare a variable and you can reassign a value to that later. While in const, if you have assigned a value once, you can't reassign that value. You can use let using let space variable name and you can assign a value or you can reassign it later. But to const, while declaring the variable, you must assign a value and you can't change that value at later time. So let's see few examples of these. So I'll create a file using ES5. So if we have a function run and we have some conditional variable, say flag, and based upon this condition we have a variable declaration. So problem with this is we have declared this variable data inside our if condition. Why? But we can access this outside this if condition. We can access it out before declaration and we can access it after declaration. So if I try to run this, we'll see if we execute this function and run it again. So we can see it didn't give us any error. So in this first console log before declaration of variable, we are still able to access this variable and its value is undefined. This is because of hoisting. And outside this if condition, again we are able to access this variable and now we have value also, which is 5, which we assign in this particular condition. So if we write this same program using let or const, so instead of declaring it using var, I'll declare it using let. And if I try to run this code for ES6 file, so we can see error saying data is not defined. So because this particular variable is declared inside this parenthesis, so it has scope inside this bracket only, so we can't access it outside. So we can access this variable inside its own scope. And to differentiate between let and const, we'll define two variables, one using let, one using const. So if I try to reassign value to a variable declared using let, so we'll run this, we'll see nothing happens, there is no error occurred and it's totally valid scenario. And if I try to do same using const variable data2, So we can see error happening saying that assignment to constant variable, which is not valid scenario. Let's move on to destructuring. So destructuring provide a way to unpack array or objects into one or more variables. So we can use it for both array and object. So in first example, let we have two variables named a and b, and these are enclosed between square brackets. And on right hand side, we have a array value. So in this example, the first array value like 1 will be assigned to a, and second value which is 2 will be assigned to b. In second example, we have object. So here again we have same example, but here instead of enclosing in square bracket, we are enclosing in curly brackets. So on right side we have an object which has property name, id and address. So on left hand side we have variable name name. So what it will do, it will go on right hand side, it will search for property named a, property named name, and it will take its value, and that value will be assigned to name variable. So name variable will be assigned a value of named Amit. So that is destructuring. So for today this is all. For next video, just subscribe to this channel. Thanks.